All right. Deep dive, spoiler filled discussion on 2016's Havenhurst. Um, so, first things first, like I said, in the original review, the path that the audience was being taken on was, at least in my mind, uh, what is going on at its most basic level, i.e., is this actually happening in the physical real world, or is it some manner of supernatural presence? And that's my interpretation of it. You may disagree, in which case we're going to have comments and discussions. Um, but for me, I personally felt like the director made that purposefully ambiguous. Talking about walls moving. This is 4 feet off. Pictures of different things like that, without any kind of you know. I mean, they had shown traps being set and executed, but nothing behind the scenes, nothing to discount the possibility of any kind of supernatural thing. And it turns out it was based on one of the first documented serial killers, H. Holmes, who owned a building in Chicago. And yeah, he had false walls and hidden passageways all throughout his building, and he used that as methods to kill people. Um, in this particular case with Havenhurst, the once it became apparent that this was actually happening in a real world and practical environment with no supernatural element to it, then it started to get on a level of not quite ridiculousness, but towards that end, where how much of this building is that malleable? How many trapdoors does it have? Because it seems like it had one for every single instance that was possibly needed. Wherever our protagonist landed, well, happened to have a trapdoor right there. Oh, false wall right there. Oh, that sewer grate happens to have a covering just for when the police come by. Um, it's one of those where if everything is thought out ahead of time, then where's the suspense level at that point? The it's the overpowered enemy argument. Um, Overall, I thought they did a fairly decent job of it. I just thought that um, like I said, I think that they could have done more as far as bringing the audience on the same level as the characters in terms of what was going on. But moreover, I thought it was a missed opportunity to explore the subtext more, and the subtext in this case being the alcoholism of the protagonist, and the nature of uh, the self-destructive patterns that so many almost every human has. Um, the notion of addiction and having this let's say benevolence of this Havenhurst apartment building, I think it was worth exploring more. Just presuppose that we do have a situation where um, we have this forgiving element to society, but it's a one-shot forgiveness. It doesn't necessarily need the leathered out gimp with torture devices at the tail end of it. But and I'm not arguing for this. I'm saying that this movie could have steered itself in a way that there could have been a societal discussion of the subtext if it went towards this route, and this route being, we forgive you that you have caused a blight on yourself and on society through prostitution, through alcoholism, through drug abuse, through theft, so on and so forth. We forgive you, and we're going to give you a chance. You're going through therapy. You're going to your new job as a waitress. You have a dark past, but that doesn't mean you have to have a dark future. We're going to let you stay in our building for a pittance so long as you keep clean. And if you don't, well, you get one forgiveness, and that's it. If you haven't learned by then you are no longer fit to be a part of society, and it's time to remove you from it. It seems like that's the element where the movie was taking it, but instead of exploring that more, it decided to throw in the leather-bound gimp and the torture devices. If it had focused on that and said, okay, you're evicted, and done something that I think would have had a better creep factor, something along the lines of, had somebody come in the middle of the night and given them a painless, lethal injection, and incinerated the bodies and moved on. And, just dealt with in a humane fashion. You have been deemed no longer fit to be a part of society, so you no longer are. Moving on to the next one. And then it can become more about, if you remove the corrupted elements of society in terms of populace, will that actually benefit society? How many people do you have to get rid of before society as a whole becomes as pure as you're looking for? And is that even possible? I submit that it isn't. Again, definitely not advocating for that. I just think it would have been an interesting direction for the movie to go. And it seems like I said, it was kind of going there, but took a half measure, decided to go torture porn instead, and only did a so-so job of that. So the subtext behind everything I thought was not fully fleshed out. The mystery of what was going on was not on the same page between the audience and the characters, and the scares just weren't there, possibly because of poor directing as far as the jump scares go. That is such a delicate operation. Jump scares have such a bad rap, but honestly, they are really, really great when they're pulled off effectively. It's just such a difficult thing to do. It takes such nuance, perfect timing, perfect lighting. It has to be just so, and it's got to be this coordinated, beautiful dance between the director and the editor and the cinematographer, and the lighting technicians and the Foley artists. It has to come together in such a way, and then then they become a thing of horror beauty. But if you fall down on that, you are going to corrupt every scare that follows. At some point, like I said, the kid with the razor scooter, and from then on, any fear switch that was in my head as far as investment just went out the window. I just like, all right, well, time to watch a movie instead of time to let myself be immersed and be scared by it. So yeah, I like I said, I thought it was an okay flick. Don't really have a whole lot of, I'm not going to tear it apart. Just I think that they were on the right track, and they just let themselves meander on that track as opposed to actually arriving at any solid destination. That's my biggest criticism of it, and in some ways I feel like that's a worse criticism than even just being a bad movie, is because it did have potential. It feels like I'm the horror review equivalent of, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. So, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, either way, I would love to hear it. Civil discussions in the comments, I welcome them. I will respond to them. And, until tomorrow, we'll go ahead and have our next review then. Take care.